Hey guys, this is Mr. Roxy coming at you live from Palm Beach in Florida. It is January the 21st. It is Saturday evening, and this is going to be a video which is a little different to my typical or usual video. And what I am going to do in support of the information that I share with you is attach a few hyperlinks in the description below the video so that you can do some of the homework, due diligence, if you'd like, about the situation in Brazil for yourself. And then draw your own conclusions. And I welcome anyone's opinion, as I usually do. You know, I try as best I can to be as unbiased and fair as possible when I cover some of my stocks. Most of the time, you probably will think of me or know me as Happy Mr. Oxy, telling you what to buy, what's a cheap deal, and what, in the case of Petrobras, is the least expensive super major energy company on the planet. That, by the way, is still true. So then you may ask the question, why would I sell Petrobras? And I'm going to discuss this with you, and the topic is going to be a little different to my usual, perhaps, content and tone. If you're interested, stay with me. If you agree with me, that's fine. If you disagree with me, that's good as well. You can tell me why. I'm open to being educated. But I do want to share this with you because in good conscience, I simply cannot own Petrobras in my portfolio any longer. So without taking too much time with my little preamble there, and I'm not going to try and turn this into a rant, I just want to share with you what I'm doing and what I have done. Yesterday, I posted basically just a communication post to the YouTube channel. I didn't make a video. And I said, I'm planning to exit my Petrobras long positions. The political situation is undesirable. It's no longer predictable nor stable. A video to follow explaining my rationale regarding the current political turmoil. This is that video. And to be fair, this is not the only reason, or these are not the only reasons why I am considering or have considered exiting Petrobras entirely. And here I'm going to default to a comment that Kevin Zhao made when we talked about Occidental warrants in a few videos ago, a little while ago. He said, kind of like Warren Buffett, if you decide you want to exit everything. You don't sell little bits, either stay in or get out. In my case, I will probably just get out completely. So anyway, I posted this little post to the community channel. Obviously, we have a few thousand subscribers. I haven't checked where it is right now, but so far, when I took the screenshot, we had garnered about 77 votes. That's enough to give me an indication in terms of where you're at. Sort of 50-50, except the math is 40-40. Sell everything. In other words, a number of people have agreed and said, just get out. A number of people have taken the contrarian view, which is usually my space, and said they will buy more. So sort of 40-40, slightly the buy more, slightly edging out the sell everything there, and then something else comment. And I am going to share the comments with you in just a minute because I think they are great. And as usual, as I've said many times before, very often your comments are better and more intelligent and more useful than the content I share with you when I make these videos. So the comments are coming up soon towards the end of the video. I'm going to share them with you unfiltered, uncensored, just as it is. Why would I exit Petrobras at all? Well, in the first place, I don't exit positions too often to begin with. In fact, most of the time, I'm either adding to my existing positions because I have full faith and confidence in my positions that I have elected to invest in, or otherwise I am reinvesting dividends, which means I'm buying all the time. I hardly ever sell. Occasionally, I rebalance. So, for example, I mentioned before in other videos, I sold a little bit of Oxy, taking a bit of money off the table. I donated some of my Oxy stock to our charitable foundation, which not only gives the charitable foundation some cash in the pocket, but it also provides me with a donation receipt for my donation. So I do that for tax purposes too. Sometimes I'll do tax loss harvesting, where I might sell something that's profitable, like Occidental, and take a little bit of profit off the table while I sell something else that's sitting at a loss position. And it's kind of a wash because I have no tax event that I'm creating by selling something for X and then buying something else. Selling something for X and taking a gain, and selling something else for Y and taking a loss, and X in this particular example equals Y. So anyway, from time to time, I do exit positions. and mostly to rebalance. I very, very seldom exit a position entirely. I don't do that too often. And if you've been following my channel, you will know most of the time I'm telling you what I think might be a good buy and inviting your opinion. But I'm not very often making videos about selling stuff like I am in this particular instance. Sometimes I also free up some cash, so I sell equities from time to time to free up some cash just for portfolio diversification, not diversion, diversification purposes. And an example of that, which I shared in a previous video, in case some of you didn't see it, I said that early in February, I'll be attending the mining in Daba, which was drawn, my attention was drawn to courtesy of Matthias Kunke, one of our community members here on the channel. And I'm going to actually take a bit of time to learn about mining and metals and see if I can diversify my portfolio, which is predominantly energy and finance or financials, by adding some metals and minerals. And of course, if I find something really good, like Petrobras, I will draw your attention to it as well and share that information with you. Why am I selling Petrobras specifically? Well, Sancho asked me that question. Did something happen? Did I miss something? Well, you didn't miss anything specific or particular, but I'm going to tell you about Petrobras specifically. I'm taking profit. Overall, my position is in a realized gain, regardless of my cost basis in terms of the stocks that I personally invested in for Petrobras. I've also been reinvesting my dividends, and obviously that averages out my cost basis for me. In the instance of Petrobras, when the stock pulled back from about $16 to about $10 or so, I was reinvesting dividends and buying those cheaper stocks at, I think my least expensive buy was about $9.22 or so. Petrobras specifically, I'm taking some profit, so I'm realizing some gains. There's too much political uncertainty. I'm going to add links to videos in this description below this video. And if you have time, you can look at some of the stuff yourself. But I'm not comfortable. And as I said at the beginning, in good conscience, I cannot hold Petrobras in my portfolio any longer. But more than anything else, it's also my worst performing energy investment in a bullish energy sector. So energy has been making a lot of money for me, and Petrobras less so. So let's take a look at this in just a little bit more detail, because as I go along, you might understand my rationale for my actions better than if I just gave you one or two reasons. This is the actual performance of my energy stocks portfolio. This is not all my energy stocks. I can only list 5. So I chose 5. I didn't even choose my top 5 because Pembina Pipelines is not one of my top 5. But as I selected them, these are 4 stocks that can compare to Petrobras right at the top. Over a 1-year period, Petrobras is down 10%. So in other words, from today, this is January the 21st, going back 1 year, Petrobras is down 10%, regardless of reinvested dividends. I'm just talking about the stock price. Oxy, on the other hand, is up 100%. Energy, the XLE Energy ETF is up 45%. Energy Transfer is up 40%. Pembina Pipelines, which I've had in my portfolio for years, is up 16.5%. Pembina also pays me a dividend of almost 6%. So in reality, on an annual basis for the past year, it's up about 22%. So my worst performing energy stock considerably outperformed Petrobras, which by far is my worst performing energy stock, excluding, of course, the very juicy dividend. You can see it in picture form at the bottom of the screen here. I'm showing you the yellow line, which is an outlier. That's Occidental Petroleum. The others are sort of grouped together mostly. And right at the bottom here in light blue is Petrobras. Petrobras has not been a good performing stock for me. So if I was going to throw out one of my stocks with the bathwater, along with a baby, it would probably be Petrobras. And in this particular instance, it is. So what would my energy portfolio look like excluding Petrobras? So Petrobras would have been the 11th stock. If I take away Petrobras, I'm still left with 10 of these. You'll see 9 of them on the screen because uranium at 9% of my holdings actually includes 2 different stocks. But if you, oh, by the way, just take a note here, my PPL over here is Pembina Pipelines, which is Pembina in Canada. If you buy Pembina on the New York Stock Exchange, the ticker symbol is actually PBA. So my PPL here could also be PBA if you hold the same stock or if you're interested in that same stock. But let's go through these very quickly. So my top 3 positions, Occidental, XLE, the ETF, and Energy Transfer, followed closely by Enbridge and Pembina Pipelines, and then uranium. So I have 2 stocks in my uranium portfolio right now. One of them is Cameco, the uranium miner out of Canada, and the other one is Paladin, the uranium miner out of Australia with its big mining assets in Namibia in Southern Africa. The new positions I've spoken about in my previous videos over the past few weeks. I said I was going to add these to my portfolio anyway, regardless of Petrobras, but you can see that my current holdings in black stone minerals is 5%, and in Devon Energy 3%. I still hold a position of about 2% in Lukoil, the Russian super major. I can't sell it right now because I mean legally I can sell it, but I'll just take a bath, right? I'll just eat a huge loss. So I'll just sit on it and I'll hold it, and we'll see what happens with that one. Lukoil currently has a price on the market of $6.96, but you can't buy it. If I could buy it for $7, I would, but you cannot buy it because of sanctions. It really is a stock that should be trading at about $100, maybe $150, or at least sort of in the range of Oxy, sort of $65, $70 per share. So if the sanctions lift, I'm not going to get into a political discussion on wars here, but somewhere along the line, the situations should kind of return to normal, however you want to define that nowadays. And then Lukoil should bounce for me, and it would be significantly greater than 2% as it is right now. It would be more sort of in the range of a uranium, Pembina, or Enbridge in terms of my pie chart. But that's where I am right now if I exclude Petrobras. So these three positions are my major positions: Occidental, XLE, and Energy Transfer. Now, when you look at the news for Brazil, you get interesting news reports, and take a good look here at the journalist's name. I'm going to struggle to say this correctly, so I'm just going to skip this, but if you just read it over here where my mouse cursor is moving, she writes, dividends in JCP, Banco do Brasil approves a 40% payout for the 2023 financial year. The CEO of Banco Brazil was actually appointed by Lula. So you can pretty much see straight off the cuff here that Lula is not necessarily anti-dividends. And then if I go to the next page, the same journalist just a few days ago canceled mega dividends. The former director of Petrobras sues the TCU to block payment. Now, we might have seen some of these before. A previous lawsuit that was filed failed, but that doesn't mean they're going to stop trying. They just want Petrobras to stop rewarding their shareholders with massive dividends, right? So on one hand, you have almost, yay, let's go, Banco do Brasil. It's going to approve a 40% payout for the 2023 fiscal year. And on the other hand, you have the same kind of cohort of group of people saying, block these payments. Now, these are two videos I'm going to share with you. The first one is Glenn Greenwald, and this is about an hour long. So if you can kind of invest an hour, and I would strongly suggest if you are invested in Petrobras that you should watch Glenn Greenwald's video from 11 days ago saying what really happened in Brazil yesterday. So it's not even 2 weeks old, still relatively fresh. I can share with you if you watch this, it's on Rumble. It's 1 hour and 16 minutes, but the first 15, 16 minutes or so is just a screenshot of the actual program, which will start after about 15, 16 minutes. So if you do click on this one to play it, fast forward the first 15 minutes or so and get to Glenn Greenwald, where he's chatting and telling you basically what's going on in Brazil right now. It is eye-opening and it's quite amazing. And then there's, you can take these YouTube creators for what it's worth. I don't really have an opinion here. I actually don't really follow the Rubin report. I have watched some of his footage before, but in this particular instance, he is speaking to Matthew Termon, who has very good insight into Brazil in terms of understanding and knowing exactly what's going on in that space right now. I'm going to add the links to both these videos in the description. If you're interested, watch them. Watch them in any order you like, but I suggest spend an hour, invest an hour, and watch Glenn Greenwald first. And remember to fast forward the first 15 minutes, because otherwise you'll just sit staring at this green screen with this little picture for 15 minutes. And then you can watch the Rubin report. Matthew's information that he shares is very interesting. You may find it to be slightly melodramatic, maybe a little bit biased, etc. I don't have an opinion on that. I'm just interested in getting good information. I asked one of my friends who is very closely connected to Brazil, and he said, all your news about censorship is verified here. If interested, this is the most pertinent info, but it takes about 10 minutes to play. He's talking about this video here. One Brazilian judge, unelected, is censoring the country and the world, and just tyrannical at best and inhumane at worst. Gorky from our channel gave me a comment, and I'm sharing this with you because I just want to be as unbiased as I possibly can. He says, I'm Brazilian, and I haven't heard of most of that. He's talking about the stuff above, right? Except the protest. Mass incarceration, those are my words, that's why they were in quotation marks, is just an interesting way of saying that the people who invaded the Congress and broke almost everything have been put in tents and are under criminal charges. In my opinion, these people do not have the support of the population. In other words, the people who have been locked up in mass incarceration facilities, or tent cities, if you'd like, do not have the support of the population, says Gorky. He would know better than me because he is Brazilian and I am not. Remember, my focus on Brazil is purely an emerging markets play, and very specifically, my personal interest in Petrobras. He adds, I've been saying this, there have been 0 coups in South America without support from the military. The Brazilian military is notoriously right-wing, the Congress leans right, Senate leans right, etc. So here he's sharing other information with us, but the main point that I wanted to share with you here is that Gorky says, in my opinion, these people, he's referring to the people who basically invaded the Congress buildings, do not have the support of the population. Now, what I'm going to do here, just to kind of close this out, now I've kind of shared with you sort of philosophically where I stand in terms of Brazil as an emerging market play, and Petrobras specifically, which I'm telling you and sharing with you, I am just no longer comfortable holding Petrobras in my portfolio. As much as I love it, based on its fundamentals, I dislike it intensely because of what's happening at a macro level in Brazil. You get that distinction, right? I'll repeat it just for the sake of people who might have missed it. What I'm saying is the macro political and economic environment in Brazil is not something that is desirable to me. So regardless of the fact that I view Petrobras as the least expensive super major you can buy and an extraordinary good deal based on its fundamentals, its production, the commodity prices currently, everything is favorable to Petrobras. So I'm not suggesting that you do anything at all except your homework, right? Do your own due diligence, make your own decisions. I'm saying Petrobras doesn't fit me personally. And for that reason, I spoke to and informed the client portfolios that I manage. And I said, I'm no longer comfortable holding Petrobras. I would rather take the profit and find something else for us to invest in. So CP58 said, these are, as you can notice, just hours ago, my average cost is around $10 a share. That's a sweet deal, CP58. Petrobras, of course, may go to $5. It could also shoot up to 20 bucks, and then you double your money. But if your cost base is around $10 a share, based on the fact that we're still receiving dividends from the previous dividend distribution, the next one's coming up this week, it's a sweet, sweet deal, 10 bucks a share, not bad. Total holding is only about 3% of my portfolio. That is a fantastic position to be in CP58 because you are really only putting at extraordinarily high risk from a macro, geopolitical, and economic point of view, 3% of your portfolio. And that's one of the reasons why I always say diversify, 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 right? Oxy was very good to me at 27, a long time in front of me. So he's a young person, CP58. I'm not concerned if it goes to pot because it's only 3%, right? Smart. I like smart people. And that's why we have this community that's growing on our channel here because you guys are super smart. Frank says, interesting, I just acquired PBR last week. I planned on holding it for the long term, mainly added it for the dividends. If that, however, changes, I would reevaluate my position to a long swing. That's a good strategy too, Frank. Pretty much originally, if I look at Petrobras, in addition to the good and sound fundamentals, one of my primary reasons for investing in Petrobras was also this extraordinarily high dividend, which I've benefited from. So I'm not even complaining about anything. I'm just telling you my time with Petrobras has come. Shane said, I look forward to the video. That's this video we're watching right now. It doesn't make sense to me that you'd sell unless you're expecting dividends to get thrashed. Well, I'm not sure I'm expecting dividends to get trashed, but I have said several times before, only one of two things can happen. They have to either cut the dividends or otherwise the stock price has to spike that will make the dividend look reasonable. One of two things, right? There's no way that you can pay a $6.40 annual dividend on a $10 stock and just keep doing it. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. At least some of that money, maybe half of it, should be reinvested in other projects that can make you money, either M&A activity or new exploration or whatever the case might be. And you can't just keep giving all your profits away to shareholders. As much as I like it, that's just not good business. Anyway, Shane continues and says, personally, I think a lot of the risk has already been priced in. Well, we'll have to see about that, right? Because we know that the stock price does not necessarily track the commodity price, and neither does it always track the news or the current political situation. Although we have seen the pullbacks on a couple of occasions. We've seen Petrobras go down more than 10% or about 10% in one day, not once, but more than once, because of certain events, like, for instance, the first Lula election victory over Bolsonaro, and then the second Lula election victory over Bolsonaro, and then some recent political changes that impacted the company. Of course, now we have a new CEO, which is potentially positive to Petrobras. So a lot of stuff going on, right? So Shane says, I don't really get it, but to each their own, right? So he's talking to me there. I don't really get it, but to each their own. So Shane, I hope I'm providing some light at the end of the tunnel to explain why I'm doing what I'm doing. Lanko Bear offered quite a few comments, and they're all good, right? So he says, I don't know too much about the inner workings of Brazil, but my intuition will be that Brazil is going to be, will not be a socialist nightmare. Just look at all the support the right side candidate has. Well, it's more than just the candidate, right? In addition to the right side candidate, who was Bolsonaro, obviously, as I shared with you earlier on, the Congress and the military and the Senate all sort of lean right more than left. But yeah, you know what? That's not my fight. So, and because I don't have a bone to pick with anyone on that, in that regard, I'll just pause right there. He also adds, Brazil is part of BRICS. So BRICS, of course, is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and the S is for South Africa, and a large contributor of natural resources and has great assets. You bet. I'm holding my positions in Vale and Petrobras, although I have been burned before politically through shares I've owned in Russia, Gazprom, Lukoil, and Norilsk. So, of course, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, I still own Lukoil. I still own the Russian companies and hope that one day I'll be able to get my money back out. Me too, Lanko Bear. As of now, my Russian positions are up massively and are paying dividends, all of which have been frozen until who knows when. But I'm still young enough. Well, there you have a benefit over me, Lanko Bear, because I am not young enough to have a long time horizon, and I can ride the storm and be rewarded handsomely for it. I don't have that luxury, because if there's one thing I have that that I don't have that many of you do have, it's time, right? As you get older and as your circumstances change, you need to also make adjustments to your portfolio. For me, an easy switch, if you'd like, is to say, what can I add? Because I don't really want cash, right? Cash, as we used to say in the good old days, cash is trash, right? I don't really want to sit on a mountain of cash. I'd rather invest it into something, and hopefully something good. So I have picked up additional holdings in my portfolio in Devon Energy and in Blackstone Minerals. So I've added some stuff even as I've been selling off some of my Petrobras. Dale says, I am less worried about my Petrobras stock than I am about my Alibaba and my NASDAQ stock. Now, Dale, I don't really have an opinion on either of those, so I can't really comment. But I am very, very happy that you are less worried about Petrobras than some of the others. ED Fernandez, I was going to say Ed, but it's obviously ED. Something else, but I agree with your comment. I wouldn't hold it long term. I think short term, a run up to 12 is likely. That'd be great. Huh? It's just 20% up from where it is right now or thereabouts. I'm holding my long swing trade. Smart move again. Average entry price $9.72. Sweet deal, ED. With a trailing stop below 11. If you don't know what a trailing stop is, if you search the library in the index on this channel, you can actually find a video, actually maybe a couple of videos, where I explain in some detail what a trailing stop is and how you can use it. DD says, say it ain't so, Rudy. For some reason, I still think the company will do well. I do too. But I agree there's a lot of noise around it politically. It's like 10% of the GDP of Brazil. So in a sense, whoever is comfortable is not comfortable with all the ups and downs probably would be safer picking something else. I'm still holding over 20,000 shares. DD, I wish you the very best of success. And as I said a couple of times during this video, Petrobras right now is just not for me. A couple of more comments. RG Moreno says, I think one should plan on possible volatility this year. PBR is not for the faint of heart. If I were to exit, it would be between the end of February and April to capture some upside and possibly buy it again. That's not a bad way to do it either. And you can also, obviously, as some people have said, we can swing trade this. It is volatile, and if you can cash out, take a bit of profit, sit on the cash for a while, buy it again when it pulls back, you can pretty much do that and make some short-term gains along the way. They should have cash flow this Brazilian summer, which is the opposite of the USA. Depends on the kabuki theater that will develop with the US debt ceiling. Man, our country's in trouble politically and economically. It's a strange, strange time we're in right now. It may make the Brazilian problems look tame. He says, let me just add, RG Moreno, in 2022 summer, I owned Energy Transfer. A company did great. The stock was 12.5 or change. Wall Street comes out and screams recession. All of a sudden, it's down to $9. Then a month or two later, they say false alarm, like it was a false alarm. No hard recession yet, so my take is this year, anything goes as far as volatility. Keep some cash on hand and take some profit from time to time. Well, I'm taking my profit on Petrobras at this time. White Milk says Petrobras is so cheap. I feel I could hold it for a really long time and be fine. I hope so too, White Milk, and I wish you the very, very best of success. They produce more oil than our majors in the United States. And that's an interesting point, right? Because Occidental, as an example, produces about 1.1 to 1.4 million barrels of oil equivalent per day. Obviously, most of it's WTI. Petrobras, on the other hand, does about 2.5 million. So Petrobras is at least 2 times the size of Occidental Petroleum, and their market cap is about the same. So guys, I hope this is helpful to you. What I wanted to do was share with you this particular circumstance and situation, which is unusual, right? Because it's not something that I usually do. If you've been following this channel, which is now almost 3 years old, you would know that, as I said at the beginning, I'm actually looking for something that we can invest in that's going to make us some money. And that's why many of you still affectionately call me Mr. Oxy, because that was our last big success, right? Right now, I have 10 stocks in my energy portfolio. They're a mixed bag of non-dividend paying stocks, like the small cap uranium stocks, irrelevant dividend stocks like Occidental Petroleum that's paying a dividend that's really, really small, except if your cost base is really small and they start paying, $2 or $3 annually, then it becomes meaningful. So the Oxy that I have right now, I'll probably just hold on to, in addition to the fact that I'm sitting on huge gains, which would create a tax event if I sell it. I would probably just keep it. Some of the stocks that I hold, Energy Transfer, Blackstone Minerals, pay huge dividends, so I'm okay holding that because the dividends also provide me with a bit of a hedge. So, in this particular sort of rebalancing act of mine, and because I want to raise some cash to potentially diversify away from just by way of breakdown, I'm sort of 40% energy, 40% financials, 20% everything else. I want to break that diversification down by adding another sector, and I'm hoping, I'm not confident, but I'm hoping it could be mining and minerals. And when I go down to the mining Indaba, which is in South Africa, early in February, we'll have a chance to do some homework. A couple of us are going, so we can meet with some of the mining investor relations people, hear direct from them, find out if there's something that's investable, hopefully find something that's really, really cheap so we can make some money. But you know what? This is pretty much the end of my relationship with Petrobras. And in case you're wondering, it's not you, Petrobras, it's me. So on that note, this is Mr. Oxy signing off, saying thanks for watching. I look forward to your comments. Take care. Bye-bye.